Here's something nobody tells you about retirement. Bob worked at the same insurance company for 38 years. He had a countdown clock on his desk for the last 2 years. He talked about fishing, about finally reading all those books, about sleeping past 6 a.m. 3 months after his retirement party, his wife found him dead in his armchair. Heart attack. He was 66. And here's the kicker. His doctor had given him a clean bill of health 4 months earlier. Now, you might think Bob's story is tragic but random. Except it's not random at all. There's a guy named Frank who retired from the post office after 41 years. Dead within 7 months. Stroke. There's Linda, who spent 35 years teaching high school English. 6 months after retirement, aggressive cancer that seemingly came out of nowhere. And the really disturbing part? The data backs this up. A study out of the University of Amsterdam found that workers who retire at 63 have a 20% higher chance of dying before they hit 67 compared to people who keep working. 20%. That's not a rounding error. That's a pattern. So what's actually happening here? Because I'm going to explain exactly how retirement functions as a kind of slow motion system failure and why the entire way we think about it is fundamentally broken. And I'm going to show you how the incentive structures we've built around work and retirement have created what is essentially a death trap that most people walk into with a smile on their face. Think about your job like this. It's not just a place you go or a thing you do. It's the operating system running your entire life. Every morning for decades, that system boots up. It tells you when to wake up, where to go, what to wear, who to talk to, what problems to solve. It creates a structure. More importantly, it creates an identity. You're not just Bob. You're Bob, the underwriter. You're not just Frank. You're Frank from the sorting facility. That operating system has been running for so long that you don't even notice it anymore. It's just humming in the background, organizing your entire existence. And then one day, someone flips a switch and that operating system shuts down completely. No boot up, no restart, just off. Here's what the retirement industry won't tell you. That shutdown is catastrophic for your body. There's a researcher named Andreas Kuhn who studied retirement and mortality in Switzerland. They've got excellent records there, very precise. He found that for every extra year you work past 60, your mortality risk drops by about 11%. 11% per year. Now you're probably thinking, well, sure, sick people retire early. That's why they die. And yes, that's part of it. But here's where it gets really interesting. Even when you control for health status, even when you look at perfectly healthy people who retire at the standard age, you still see this spike. The retirement itself is doing something to people. Let me tell you about a guy I'll call Tom, because this is how it actually plays out. Tom was a branch manager at a regional bank. Not a huge job, but he ran his branch. He had 12 people under him. He knew every customer by name. He'd been doing it for 29 years. Tom's day looked like this. Up at 5:30, coffee, shower, at the branch by 7:15. He'd walk through, check everything, have his morning meeting with his assistant manager. Customer issues would come to him. Corporate would call him. He was the guy. He had a role. Now Tom retires at 65. Company throws him a nice party, gives him a decent pension, and for the first month, Tom's living the dream. He's sleeping in. He's watching the History Channel, he's organizing his garage, but then month 2 hits and Tom realizes something. Nobody needs him anymore. His wife has her own routine. She's been running the house without him for 3 decades. His kids are grown, they've got their own lives. He calls his old assistant manager to check in, and he can hear it in her voice. She's being polite, but the branch is fine without him. She's got it handled. Here's what's happening in Tom's body at this point. His cortisol levels are actually spiking. You'd think retirement means less stress, right? Wrong. A study from the Institute of Economic Affairs in the UK found that retirement increases the likelihood of clinical depression by 40%. 40%. And it increases the probability of being diagnosed with a physical condition, heart disease, diabetes, stroke, by 60%. Why? Because Tom's brain is interpreting his new reality as a threat. For 29 years, his identity was branch manager Tom. That identity generated status, respect, purpose. Now that identity is gone, and his brain is registering this as a survival threat. Humans are tribal animals. We need a role in the tribe. When you lose your role, your body literally starts to think you're expendable. But here's the thing nobody wants to say out loud. Our entire retirement system is built on a lie. The lie is this: you work hard for 40 years, and then you earn the right to stop working and enjoy life. Sounds reasonable, right? Except it's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of what work actually does for humans. Work isn't just about money. It's about structure, identity, social connection, and purpose. It's about being useful. When you remove all of that at once, you're not liberating someone. You're amputating a core part of their existence. I'll give you the numbers on this. A guy named Clement Mongard did research in France. They've got mandatory retirement ages for certain professions, which creates a natural experiment. He looked at French professional soccer referees who have to retire at 45. These are guys in phenomenal physical shape. They're running miles every week. They're monitored constantly for health issues. And guess what happens when they hit mandatory retirement? Their mortality rate jumps significantly in the years immediately following retirement compared to referees who kept working in other capacities. Same fitness level, same health monitoring, but the ones who lost their role started dying faster. Now you might be thinking, okay, so retirement is bad, but what about all the people who retire and live to 90? And yes, those people exist. But here's what they have in common. They built a new operating system. They didn't just stop working. They found something else that gave them structure and identity. They became the neighborhood handyman. They ran the church bake sale. They taught guitar lessons. They became grandpa who watches the kids every Tuesday. They created a new role. The people who die, they're the ones who just stopped. Who went from having a clear purpose to having nothing but golf and cable news. There's a Japanese concept called Ikigai. It translates roughly to reason for being. Studies out of Tohoku University followed over 43,000 Japanese adults for 7 years. The ones who reported having a strong sense of Ikigai, a reason to get up in the morning, had significantly lower mortality rates. We're talking about a reduction in death from all causes. Heart disease, cancer, stroke, all lower when you have a purpose. Your job, whether you loved it or hated it, was providing Ikigai. It was giving you a reason to exist. Retirement takes that away and replaces it with what? The freedom to do nothing? Humans aren't built for that. Let me break down the actual mechanism here, because this is where the systems thinking comes in. Your body runs on feedback loops. When you work, you get constant feedback. Your boss needs that report. Your customer has a question. Your colleague asks for help. Each of these interactions releases tiny hits of dopamine and reinforces your sense of being necessary. Your circadian rhythm synchronizes to your work schedule. Your social connections are maintained through work relationships. Your cognitive function is maintained through work challenges. All of this creates a complex adaptive system that keeps you alive. Retirement doesn't reduce stress, it removes the entire scaffolding that your stress response system was built around. Your body doesn't know what to do with itself anymore. Here's a scenario with actual numbers. Meet Richard. Richard was a high school principal for 33 years. He made about $78,000 a year. His pension pays him $47,000 annually. Not bad. He and his wife, Carol, planned everything out. They paid off the house. They've got some savings. Richard retires at 66. For the first 6 months, he's adjusting. He tries to stay busy. But here's what his actual day looks like now. He wakes up whenever. No alarm. He makes coffee. He reads the paper. He maybe runs an errand. He watches TV. He has dinner with Carol. He goes to bed. Compare that to his previous day, up at 5:45, at school by 7, morning meetings, student issues, teacher evaluations, parent conferences, district calls, budget reviews, home by 4:30, exhausted but accomplished. His new life has removed 90% of his decision-making, 95% of his social interactions, and 100% of his sense of being needed by anyone outside his immediate family. Within a year of retirement, Richard develops hypertension. His doctor prescribes medication. 6 months after that, he's diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. His doctor says it's probably genetic, age-related, But here's what's really happening. Richard's daily physical activity has dropped by 70%. He's stress eating because he's depressed but won't admit it. His sleep quality has deteriorated because the circadian rhythm has no anchor point. His cognitive decline has accelerated because he's not solving complex problems anymore. His immune system has weakened because chronic low-grade depression suppresses immune function. 2 years post-retirement, Richard has a heart attack. He survives, but he's on 4 medications now. His quality of life is worse than when he was working himself to death as a principal. The retirement that was supposed to save him is killing him. And here's the really dark part. The system is designed this way. Social Security was created in 1935 when the average life expectancy for men was about 60 years. The retirement age was set at 65. You see the math there? The system was built assuming most people would die before collecting much. Now we've got people living into their 80s and 90s, but we're still using the same model. Retire at 65, collect your pension, enjoy your golden years, except nobody told our biology that we're supposed to just turn off at 65 and coast for another 25 years. Our bodies are still running the old software that says if you're not useful to the tribe, you're a resource drain. There's a study out of Cornell that looked at retirement timing and health outcomes. They found that people who retired at 55 were 89% more likely to die in the 10 years after retirement than people who retired at 65. You'd think retiring earlier would be better. More time to enjoy life, right? Wrong. The earlier you remove the structure and purpose, the faster the decline. Your body needs a reason to keep going. When you take that reason away prematurely, the system starts shutting down. Now, here's the objection I know you're thinking. What about all the jobs that are genuinely killing people? The factory workers with destroyed backs, the teachers with crippling stress, the nurses doing double shifts, shouldn't they get to retire and rest? And yes, absolutely, those jobs are brutal. But here's the thing. The solution isn't to go from full throttle stress to zero purpose. That's jumping from one extreme to another. The solution is finding a sustainable way to remain useful without destroying yourself. But our system doesn't offer that middle ground. It's all or nothing. You're either in the workforce getting ground down, or you're out of the workforce with nothing to do. I talked to a retired firefighter once. I'll call him Mike. Mike retired at 53. Full pension, great benefits. He'd earned it. 28 years of running into burning buildings. But Mike told me something interesting. He said the first year of retirement was the worst year of his life, worse than any fire. Because at least at a fire, he knew what he was supposed to do. He had a role. In retirement, he felt like he was just waiting to die. Eventually, Mike started volunteering at a fire safety education program, teaching kids about smoke detectors and escape plans. His health improved almost immediately. He'd found a new role, a new version of Mike the firefighter that didn't destroy his body but still gave him purpose. Here's what the data actually shows. It's not work that kills you. It's the specific combination of high stress and low control. Jobs where you're constantly under pressure but have no autonomy, those are deadly. But jobs where you have some control, some autonomy, some sense of purpose, those can actually be protective. A study in the Journal of Epidemiology and Community Health found that people who had more control over their work environment had lower mortality rates, even in high-stress jobs. The problem with retirement isn't that you stop being stressed. It's that you lose all control and all purpose simultaneously. So here's what's actually going on. We've built a society that organizes people's entire identity around their job for 4 decades, then rips that identity away and expects them to be fine. We've created an economic system that pushes people out of the workforce at an arbitrary age, regardless of their health or desire to keep working. We've built a cultural narrative that says retirement is the reward, the goal, the thing you're working toward, when in reality, for a huge percentage of people, retirement is the beginning of a rapid decline. The incentives are all wrong. Companies want older workers out to make room for cheaper, younger workers. The government wants to process people through the system cleanly. Work until 65, collect Social Security, die before you cost too much in Medicare. Financial advisors make money selling you retirement planning services based on the idea that you'll stop working completely. Nobody in this system has an incentive to tell you the truth. that completely stopping work might kill you faster than keeping at it. But you might be thinking, what about people who hated their jobs? Surely they're happier retired? And here's the disturbing answer: not really. A paper from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that even people who reported being unhappy in their jobs showed increased depression and health problems after retirement. Why? Because even a job you hate provides structure, routine, and social interaction. It gives you something to complain about, which, perversely, gives you a sense of purpose. When you retire from a job you hated, you lose the thing you defined yourself against. You were the person suffering through that terrible job, and now you're, what, just old? Let me give you 3 things you can actually do about this, because I'm not just here to depress you. First, don't retire cold turkey. If you can, transition. Go part-time, consult, freelance. Keep one foot in something that gives you structure and purpose. Your body needs time to build a new operating system. You can't just shut down the old one and expect to survive. Second, before you retire, build your replacement identity. And I mean actually build it, not just think about it. If you're going to be the guy who volunteers at the library, start doing that while you're still working. Test it. Make sure it actually gives you what you need. Don't wait until retirement to figure out what you're going to do with yourself. Third, ignore the retirement industry narrative. They'll tell you retirement is freedom, that you've earned the right to do nothing. That's marketing. What you've actually earned is the right to choose what gives you purpose. If that's working in some capacity, do it. Don't let some arbitrary age or social expectation kill you. The uncomfortable truth is that humans need to be useful. We need structure. We need challenge. We need social connection. We need a story about who we are and why we matter. Your job was providing all of that, whether you realize it or not. Retirement strips it all away and hands you a golf club. For some people, that works. They build a new story. But for a lot of people, maybe most people, it's just the beginning of the end. Bob didn't die because he stopped working at the insurance company. He died because he stopped being Bob who matters. And your body can't tell the difference between being useless and being dead, so it starts acting accordingly. The system isn't going to change. Social Security isn't going to say, actually, keep working if you want. Your company isn't going to beg you to stay. This is on you to figure out. Work isn't killing you. The sudden absence of it might.